Madam Secretary, I'd actually like to take a little bit of my time real quick to turn to an actual Maryland resident. And I believe if we're going to spend that much time talking about Mr. Abrego Garcia, we need to talk about Rachel Moren.
Yep.
And she was a citizen of Maryland who was brutally raped and murdered in 2023 by another criminal illegal alien from El Salvador who had no business being in the United States. May her story and others like it serve as a reminder to the human cost of unchecked illegal immigration policies, the need to secure our border, and the need to swiftly remove criminal illegal aliens from the United States. Speaking of, let's go back. Take a look at what President Trump inherited. We talked about this earlier, but when Joe Biden took office, there were 3.3 million people on the non-detained docket. When President Trump took office, that number had risen to 7.6 million people on the non-detained docket. When you look at the docket, the President Biden and his administration spent their entire term simply allowing people and aliens to cross the border into our communities. Of those who had been given their final orders of removal, meaning they had their due process, the Biden administration simply sat on their hands instead of actively working to remove those individuals, which created chaos and, unfortunately, criminal opportunities on our interior. Thankfully, we have new leadership at the White House and a department who will no longer tolerate the subversion of our immigration laws and activities. I think since we're here to talk about the budget today, that's what I'd like to talk about. What do you and your department need, the brave men and women who serve alongside you, in order to secure our border, in order to keep our interior safe from coast to coast, and to continue to make America a safe, secure, and prosperous place to be?
Hey, Patriots. Welcome back to Right View Nation. I'm your host, bringing you the truth they don't want you to hear. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss our hard-hitting content. Today, we're analyzing Senator Katie Britt's powerful testimony that has the liberal media in a complete meltdown. She dared to speak about what Democrats have desperately tried to hide, the real human cost of their open border disaster. Let that sink in, folks. While Democrats obsess over protecting illegal criminals, Senator Britt had the courage to name an actual American victim, Rachel Moren, brutally raped and murdered by an illegal alien from El Salvador who should never have been in our country. This isn't just a statistic. This was a young American woman with hopes, dreams, and a future, all violently stolen because our government refused to enforce our laws and protect our citizens. How many more Rachel Morens must there be before we say enough? The numbers Senator Britt revealed are absolutely staggering.
Well, the Department of Homeland Security is tasked with overseeing 23 different components that are pretty broad, and it was formed after 9/11 in response to the terrorist attacks to help us secure our country and everything that's in the interior of our country. The president's budget request, along with reconciliation package, focus on what some of our greatest threats are that face our future and our children and grandchildren's ability to grow up here and to have a future. And that is continuing to secure our border, to make sure we're addressing technology needs that have been neglected for far too long, get our Coast Guard to the standard to what the missions are requiring them to be at to be successful, building more wall, more agents for CBP, more ICE agents and beds so that we can remove illegal criminals out of this country and dangerous individuals that are threatening our public safety. And then also going forward and looking at how we conduct operations on training our law enforcement officers, how we can put CISA back on mission at focusing on cybersecurity. The requests going forward focus in those areas and TSA so that we have the technology upgrades that we need to really make sure that we are doing due diligence to secure our country and the systems that help run our critical infrastructure.
This country safe. On that, your predecessor actually refused to call what was going on at the border a crisis. It is clear that's exactly what was happening. You also have shown that coming in, we did not need any new legislation to actually secure the border. You have taken action. President Trump has taken action to secure it. I mean, creating a space that we haven't seen in decades. You talked about a number of things. One of the things you just mentioned was a border wall. Can you talk about the construction of a border wall and what that would do for the men and women of CBP and overall at DHS? I know that we are a nation of immigrants. We're proud of that. We're also a nation of law, and lawlessness has to stop. And I believe that anybody on this dais that locks their door at night should understand the need for a border wall. The American people should have that level of security when they go to sleep at night. So can you talk about the importance of that and kind of how you see that unfolding?
We have currently over 700 miles of border wall on the southern border and infrastructure that is there operating today. Since President Trump has been in office, we've constructed another 77 miles that is in place. That is an inclusion of steel bollard wall that has been built, but also temporary wall that has been put forward with concertina wire and panels, and then also we have some waterborne buoys that are being utilized as well. We have 11 contracts that have been allocated to continue building infrastructure, and then also 5 more that are pending to be allocated to build more miles, to have that infrastructure there to help secure vulnerable areas. Now, the border wall will look different based on what the topography is and the geography is of the area. So there's some areas on the northern border and the southern border and out in our maritime infrastructure that we need that will have technology. It'll utilize Aerostar systems, radio frequencies, satellite systems. Those upgrades just simply haven't been made or prioritized under the last administration and need to be done. So we will use a combination for what's appropriate out there for the topography and working with the local states and tribal areas to make sure that it's something that secures our country, but also is something that they can help support and secure as well.
Thank you for that commitment. Vice Chair Murray.
When Biden took office, there were 3.3 million illegal aliens on the non-detained docket. By the time he left, that exploded to 7.6 million. That's more than the entire population of 36 individual states. And these aren't just people waiting for hearings. Many had already been ordered deported, and Biden's team simply refused to enforce the law. For 4 years, they deliberately dismantled every effective border security measure President Trump put in place. They halted wall construction on day 1. They ended Remain in Mexico. They stopped deportations. They handcuffed ICE. They attacked our Border Patrol agents instead of the cartels. And innocent Americans paid the ultimate price. What's truly infuriating is that none of this had to happen. Senator Britt powerfully demonstrated that securing our border doesn't require new legislation. It requires will. It requires leadership. It requires putting Americans first. Under President Trump's renewed leadership, we've already seen dramatic changes. The DHS secretary confirmed they've constructed 77 additional miles of border barriers. Border crossings have plummeted. Deportations of criminal aliens have surged. Communities are starting to feel safe again. While the radical left calls effective barriers racist, actual security professionals know walls work. They're building steel barriers, using concertina wire, deploying water barriers. All things Democrats fought tooth and nail against for purely political reasons. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Democrats prioritized foreign citizens over Americans. President Trump is putting America first. It's that simple. But what truly shows the media's corruption is their selective outrage. When certain tragic events happen, they saturate coverage for weeks. But where was CNN's wall-to-wall coverage of Rachel Moren? Where were the NYT front-page stories? Where were the MSNBC special reports? Silence. Because her story doesn't fit their narrative. Because acknowledging her murder means acknowledging their policies have deadly consequences. This is why alternative media like ours is so crucial. We tell the stories they refuse to cover. I've personally visited border communities devastated by illegal immigration. I've spoken with angel families who lost loved ones to crimes that should never have happened. Their pain is unimaginable, and their voices deserve to be heard. When I look at what happened to Rachel Moren, I can't help but think, what if she were my daughter, my sister, my friend? Would I accept politicians telling me her life was an acceptable sacrifice for their open borders ideology? Would I tolerate being called xenophobic for wanting justice and prevention of future tragedies? Of course not. No American should. What Senator Britt understands, and the left refuses to acknowledge, is that compassion starts with protecting our own citizens. Every nation on earth has borders and immigration laws. Only America is expected to abandon both and commit national suicide in the name of inclusivity. The solutions are straightforward, as the DHS Secretary confirmed. Complete the border wall with appropriate technology. Increase staffing for Border Patrol and ICE. Ensure detention capacity for those who cross illegally. Swiftly remove those with deportation orders. Support local law enforcement dealing with these issues. None of this is extreme. None of this is anti-immigrant. It's pro-legal immigration and pro-American safety. It's also worth noting how Democrats have completely flip-flopped on this issue. They used to support border security before becoming radicalized. Clinton, Obama, Schumer, Biden all previously voted for border barriers and tougher enforcement. What changed? Political calculation and a desperate need for future voters. Some hard questions need answering. Why was Biden's DHS releasing violent criminals into our communities? Why did they stop deporting aliens with final removal orders? Why did they demonize Border Patrol while empowering cartels? The left wants to frame this as a debate about compassion. But there's nothing compassionate about policies that get Americans killed. There's nothing compassionate about enabling human trafficking and child exploitation. There's nothing compassionate about fentanyl pouring across our border, killing over 100,000 Americans annually. Senator Britt's powerful testimony reminds us what true leadership looks like. She didn't pander. She didn't virtue signal. She spoke truth to power and remembered the victims the media wants us to forget. This November, remember Rachel Moren. Remember all victims of illegal alien crime. Remember that elections have consequences, and some of those consequences are measured in American lives lost. Patriots, we cannot let the radical left rewrite history or hide the devastation their policies caused. Share this video. Tell these stories. Support leaders like Senator Britt who have the courage to speak truth regardless of the inevitable leftist attacks. Our sovereignty matters. Our safety matters. Our laws matter. And most importantly, American lives matter. This is Right View Nation, reminding you that freedom requires eternal vigilance. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.